we'll have the recording then if anybody misses the thing tonight. Okay, okay. It tells me I'm recording. Just for your own, your name and whatever icon you have there is being recorded as well. It will be on the screen. All right. It just tells me here I have to tell you that. Okay. The privacy policy is there to be seen, and if anybody wants a copy of it, just shoot me an email and I'll send it to you. All right. That's that little bit of housekeeping out of the way. So, why is this call? Are we playing a match? Because that's the call you hear when you're coaching little lads, big lads. Everyone wants to play a match. Okay, so when we get back to play after this long layoff, players are not going to be interested in lines of three and drills. They're not going to be interested in that. They're going to want to play games. And the best way for us to get the best out of them and give them the best crack is to actually play some games with them. All right, so we'll have a look. What are small-sided games? Essentially, they're mini matches. It can be 2v2, 3v3. You can make the numbers odd, make them even. It doesn't make any difference, okay? What we're trying to do is replicate a match situation, change the rules to give us what we want. So if we're looking for an eventuality, a specific eventuality on the field, sometimes I hear a lot of coaches talk to me and say, the kids, they can't attack the ball and they're standing waiting for things to happen. Stuff like that has to be replicated in training, otherwise you'll never see it in the matches, okay? But the most important thing is that you can ramp them up if players are finding it too easy, or ramp them back if you're not getting what you want. If you're not getting the skills you're looking for, if it's the near hand tackle, if it's blocking, if it's high catches, if it's putting the ball over the bar, whatever. If you're not getting that, you can put in a couple of conditions or rules to make that happen for you, okay? The most important thing is that they have scoring in them. There's some sort of a scoring system, okay? So as players can see, look at everyone loves to stick the ball over the bar. Everybody loves to stick it in the net. But even if you've taken out goals and you have a different scoring system in it, once you have some way of showing that you're winning, you're losing. But really, the big thing for us as coaches is that once kids have a skill, we can bring them on and actually let them execute the skills in some sort of a game-based environment. Go back to what I say. A lot of you would have heard me say this over the years. To learn how to do something, learn how to do it when you're moving, and then learn how to do it under pressure. Well, there's your pressure now, your little match-like environment. If it happens there enough times, it's going to happen on the field for us at the weekends, okay? So we'll move on. So here, look, benefits, scores, big time. Opportunities to defend, opportunities to move into space, find space. As here, I'm going mad there. Sorry about that. The more touches the ball, that's more important. So I'll show you some stats on that later on. You're getting 1v1s all the time. So players get an opportunity to learn how to take on a player, whether to move the ball, move themselves, move your man out of the way, whatever it is. It makes decision-making simpler, all right? And we'll go into that a little bit in a while. There's an awful lot more run, an awful lot more intensity, more attack chances to score, attacking opportunities, and a chance for us as coaches to actually watch what's happening in a game-like environment and see, can we transfer because all teams and all players have their natural style as well. Some like to go straight at the goal, some like to go left, some like to go right, some like to work the ball in and get on the end of things. These things, we'll see them as they'll become apparent to us when we're developing our coach and I watching the young people play. Again, it gives us, if you're given a 2 versus 2, you're going to see more runs, or 3 versus 3, you're going to see more runs, and runs make sense to players then, okay? Especially the off the ball stuff makes a little bit more sense when the numbers are smaller and the pitch might be a little bit reduced, okay? So we'll move on. And this is a bit wordy, and I'm not going to read it out to you. You can read it yourself. But the big thing is, bunching is a killer. And we've all seen very young kids clustering around the ball. They only have 3 or 4 skills. They've only got that learned at the moment. So if we're having 7 or 8 versus 7 or 8, it's a nightmare. There's one ball between 16 or 14 kids. The chances of getting a go of the thing are fairly limited, okay? But if we go 1v1, that's a match. That's a match to the 2 fellas that's playing it. 1v1 with 2 outlads in the goal, that's perfect, okay? What do we want them to learn? At 5, 6 years of age, they've learned how to hit the ball on the ground. Yeah, or they've learned how to kick it, pick it up and kick it. Great. So let's create an environment now where they can, the purest form, our games in their purest form is about getting the ball, taking someone on and doing something with it. Okay? It gives us a chance to get our head up and have a look around. If there's only one of us, or there's only two of us playing against another two, the person without the ball has to think about where they can go. So they will learn. They'll learn themselves though. Okay. And that's the important thing. We can guide them to it. All right. Um, and again, the right pass at the right time. If it's only 2 versus 2, the right pass is the one that goes to the person that's looking for it. Simple as that. Okay. If it becomes 3 versus 3, now you've got two options, but you've got used to working with one option. Now you're not feeling overloaded. Now your mind is evolved. You can start moving the ball around. Okay. Again, defense, when you do play a small sided game, a very small sided game, the simplest thing, like Fitzy style, showing them the sideline. Yeah. Now he's only one way to go. He has to come back at you. Now you can make yourself big. We start learning about where to place ourselves to show players where we want them to go. And we learn that naturally. That comes to us naturally. Yeah. Okay. Now, when we're very small, we might need to be penned into a small area, and that's fine. But as we get older, even like I would do this with adult players regularly. These small-sided games, it actually shows fellas how to show fellas the outside, get him onto his non-dominant side, whatever it is that you need. Okay, all right. Again, if there's only 3 versus 3, you're going to pick up the opposition run when you're not in possession. You're learning to do that, and it's coming naturally to you. Okay, so everything that happens here is transferable to a real game. We worked on these things in training, and we try to do it regularly enough. It's going to happen for us on the field, which is brilliant because it means then that when we get back to the training field and we're going to play another one of these games, we have buy-in now, okay? Because we're able to tell the players, well, we were working on this last week, and you guys were able to show the opposition player the sideline, and as a result, limit their options with the ball, or you were able to find space and get a pass from someone, and thereby, and you were able to give it back to them, thereby creating a score. And especially those ones with the odd numbers. If you might have 5 versus 3, if you have a couple of kids that might be in Rawlesh and Lee Road, as we say, it might be in love with the ball. They might want to pass, they might want to take the ball on. You're playing against 5 players and you don't want to pass. Things are going to be tricky for you. And they understand. We let the kids know. We know the teams aren't fair. We know there's more on this team than there is on the other. Look, football in particular, but hurling is getting more like it. The whole game is based around creating numbers wise to give us a score and to put the defenders in a position where, or put the opposition in a position where they've less defenders than they'd like to have. Okay, so if we can replicate that in training, the big thing for me is options with the ball. I was talking about it a minute ago. So this picture is great. I love it. And I'm not sure if you can see my thing pointing to it. But anyway, the one on the left is great. There's a million choices in there. Okay. And sometimes when you get a whole bunch of choices, we've often seen it. You bring the small child to the sweet shop. Yeah. Or you bring a big child to the off license. And you're standing there for an hour looking at the shelf. You can't think what you want. You don't know what it is you want. But if there's a limited range of options, it's easier to pick the one that you want. Yeah. So what we're saying is, if you've too many options, and you've often seen it there, the player who dumps the ball, the player gets the ball, there's so many choices of what to do with it that they tend to just whack it up in the air. Yeah. And dump the ball away from them because they're overwhelmed by the amount of decisions that are there, so they don't make any in the end. And we all know that player who, if there's 11 decisions that he could have made, he makes the 12th and that's to just dump the ball, get it away from me. But the game, all of our games, camogie, hurling, football, are not like that anymore. We need to be giving the ball to someone or to somewhere. Right? This effort of just lamping it up the field is long gone out with the Indians now. So here we are again. By removing some of the options, and we make it easier. So if there's only 2 of us, we've only got one choice now. Or 2 choices. Do I take this fella on, or do I give the ball and go? Yeah. Okay. And the big thing for me though is that the kids now own the decision. They made the decision in the field, and us with our coach and I, as coaches, we're watching them, right? And what are we looking for? We're not looking to tell them, like us for donkey's years we were told what we were doing wrong. That doesn't work. It's proven that it doesn't work. We're looking for to catch them do something right. So watch them play the game. And sometimes, from our point of view, the biggest challenge is actually just to shut up and let them play the thing. Okay, so let them play the game, watch them, and then tell them what they did right. Yeah, so that's great. You had a look, you saw that Ken was out of position, but you took your man on and went past him to give him a chance to get into position, and then you gave him a good pass. So you're telling them all the things they got right. That reinforces that positive reinforcement, it's called. That reinforces that in the kids' head, so they're more likely to do that again now, more likely to do it in the game, and they own the decision then. Okay, so it will happen if number one, if we reinforce it, but if they make the correct decision often enough on the training field, it becomes second nature, and then we make it on the field. All right, and then we can learn that there are a range or a menu of decisions we can make, but we have to start at the beginning and learn with one. Okay, and again, as I said to you earlier, you become overwhelmed if you've too many decisions to make, and we just end up with that concept of dumping the ball, or whack. I call it dumping, and I even see adult players doing it. Uh, they come under pressure, especially if they're not as fit as they might be. They come under a bit of pressure. What do? They lamp the ball down the field, and that worked in the past. Well, maybe it didn't, but it was acceptable in the past. But you'll be punished severely for it nowadays if you try that. Okay, so let's have a look at this. This is based on some soccer stats that I got. You can't really see these little things, but that's because of me messing around with the the way you never stop messing with these things when you're putting them together. But anyway, look, this is soccer stats. Minutes played, 60 minutes. Touches, 22. Touches per minute, 0.37. 4 versus 4. Only playing 48 minutes. 217 touches the players had, right? 217, right? And it's 4.5 touches per minute. And that's huge. Huge. Okay. So the more touches you get, the more chances you get to make a bollocks of it or to get things right. Okay. And at the end of the day, it's making mistakes that we learn by. We don't need to hear that we made a mistake. We know we made a mistake. Yeah. And sometimes we can talk to a player after they have made a mistake and ask them, if you had to do that again, if you got that ball again, especially at a younger age, but your adult kid, your 28-year-old or 5-year-old or 52-year-old kid will appreciate this chance as well. We never get a chance to rewind the tape. And it's something I've become very fond of doing when I'm working with very young kids now, is stop, pause, we'll rewind the tape. If you had a chance to do that again, what would you have done? So they might take them on the other side, or they might kick the ball instead of hand passing, or vice versa, or whatever. We'll let them answer the question, and it gives them a chance again to own the information and own the development. Okay, so again, the big thing here is that the more time on the ball we get, the better we get at using the ball. It's a bit of a no-brainer, really. So now, in general, your small side, and I know I'm racing through this a little bit, but I don't want to be here all night with you, and I don't want to keep you on it because I know people are kind of webinared out a little bit. But anyway, small side SSG, small sided games are usually they're played at a much higher intensity than a full match. So if you're playing a small sided game with a group of players, kids, adults, doesn't matter, and the standard drops, they can't keep that intensity up for a long period of time, especially if you're using these to develop fitness, which they're great for. Right, and I'll show you some stats on that in a while. But if the execution drops, there's no harm to just, okay, stop for a minute, in pairs, banging the ball to each other, to the hand, to the ground, to the hand, up in the air, whatever it is, kicking it left, kicking it right, hand passing it left, hand passing it right. We'll go at that for 2 or 3 more minutes, whistle on, game on again. Okay? The key with them, and I'll show it to you later, is you have to be watching that. Once the intensity drops and it can get a bit sloppy and a bit messy, stop it. Go to something else. You don't have to put out a bunch of cones or anything like that because you've already created your little environment for your pitch. All I want you to do is move around, lads. There's spare balls there. Ball between two. Bang, 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 bang. We're hitting the ball. Okay, let's go. Let's do it again now. And you find the touches improved because they've calmed themselves a little bit. They've had a chance to get their breath and to refine their touch and their skill execution again. Okay. But the main thing is be mindful that when we are playing these things, if it's 4 versus 4 in a small square, you're not going to do that for an hour. You're not going to last for an hour, okay, because you're working the whole time. And if anybody stops working, their team are going to know about it because they're going to get creamed. Yeah, okay. So again, a little rule I have that I use in a lot of these is the score a goal, go in goal rule. So you score a goal, into the goal you go, and it gives, number one, it gives you a little breather, but it also upsets the rhythm of things. You think about it, a chap is after scoring a goal down one end of the field, the pitch is 40 metres long. Immediately he has to go back and score a goal. So the opposition have someone to kick a quick kick out to or a quick puck out to. So the team needs to scramble to get organised. Oh, what happens in matches? Someone's attacking us and we've a man out of position. Oh, we have to scramble to get organised. So we're learning something even when we're switching over like that. Okay, all right. So it does give us a good chance to get a solid base going of the right sort of runs. And I know a lot of the players, and I'm seeing them out and about. I told one yesterday. I met one yesterday out running. And I told him that I spend most of my time now driving around looking for junior hurlers out running, and that's not the case. But I do see a few of them out doing bits and pieces, and they're building bases all right. But a lot of the running is running that to build condition, but their sharpness is not going to be there for them when they come back. Their match fitness is not going to be there. This will bring it back for them, okay? But the thing is, when you're playing a game like that, we're all competitive animals. That's why we play. So when you're working hard like that in that game, you don't even notice that you're working. Yeah. But you will notice when things get sloppy, the fellas are actually, they're so tired that the standard is falling. So again, keep an eye on that and bring them to something a little bit more technical for a little period of time. You can go back to it always, whatever you like. So this is just a little excerpt on pitch sizes from a study. Well, this thing is miles long now that Mickey Whelan did a good few years ago now, but it just gives you the square meterage per player. And it's very helpful. And these, I think it was under 18s or 19s he was using for this study, right? So from an adult player point of view, if you reduce the pitch to 100 meters from a full size to 100 meters by 72 meters, you're still given the same, and make it a 9-a-side game, you're still given the same square meterage per player to the players to operate in, all right? And that's fine. So that's come match day, they're used to that. But look at that, if you drop it back to 9-a-side on a smaller pitch, a 90 by 60 pitch, all of a sudden there's much less space. So things are going to be more intense. The hit's going to be harder because it's easier to catch a hold of fellas, there's less space for them to run away into. And when they do come to play their full match, it feels like they have an awful lot more space. Okay. Now I use that particular thing all the time when I'm just dropping back to make, for adult players now this would be to make smaller pitches. So if I'm going 3 or 4 aside, and you'll see it later in an example I'll show you. If I'm going 4 aside, I'm going back to 65 meters by maybe 35 meters, and that's pretty much giving them the 300 meters squared. That they need, and even 250, and so it can be very, very tight, and you get lots of hooking and lots of blocking and lots of tackling. But you get when players do get out into a full game environment, then they tend to make better decisions, because it's a bit like anyone who knows me well will know that I'm a big fan of boxing as a tool. If you watch a good boxer playing hurling or football, they're never panicked on the ball, because, and I know this from my own kids, whenever they were younger, they were decent boxers, and you have to make decisions in a split second, and if you don't make the right one, you could end up busted. So you see them when they've 9 yards out in the field there, because space has slowed down, seems to have slowed down for them, because they have that, they feel like they've that extra time on the ball, because there's a little bit more room, because we've compressed the space when they've been training, and when they get into the real environment, the real match environment, it helps hugely. And I've noticed that now over this last year. I've been working with a lot of different teams over the last years, but this last year or so I've been working with our junior A team, and we needed to change the way they were playing, because it was the way they were playing was just a little bit out of date, and other teams were coming and beating us by playing slightly more modern hurling. So once the lads bought into it though, and once they got the required fitness and stick work up, they flew, and that came from playing in very compressed environments, and then when they found extra space on game day, they were able to do the right thing more often than now they're junior hurlers, these lads. So you're winning when lads do the right thing more often than they do the wrong thing. But as I said, sometimes there's a yin and a yang to that, you know. Okay. This again is from Mickey's project, right? There's your 9-a-side at 300 meters. Your touches are up. Your touches per person are up, right? Versus the 15-a-side game. Your 15-a-side game, you're only getting, you're only getting maybe fellas might be only getting 22 touches a game. We're up well over 30 there. We're nearly to 40 there in the 9-a-side game. Okay, so that's important. The more touches, and put that in context. All Ireland final a number of years ago, Darragh O'Shea was the king of the midfielders at the time, and he had more possessions than anybody else that day, bar the two goalkeepers, with 22 possessions of the ball. Okay, so, and that was the best midfielder in the country at that time. Okay, and some of you younger fellas will have to Google Darragh O'Shea, find out who he is. But anyway, we'll move on. Okay, another one from Mickey there. Your physiological response. Look at the 7-a-side. Look at the work rate. Your heart rate, your average percentage of maximum heart rate is way up. Your VO2 max is way up. So if we're trying to build conditioning, 7-a-side compared to 15-a-side is the way to go. Yeah, we're trying to get fellas fit to play. And again, using the principle of progressive overload, we're talking about getting fellas to work harder in training than they will have to work on the field on a weekend match to build that capacity, that extra capacity that we're going to need when the real pressure comes. And most mistakes are made when we come under physical pressure. So if we've achieved a little bit of a physiological conditioning that we can carry ourselves around under pressure like that, then obviously it's going to be beneficial to us on a match day. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of many other sports. We know that, but and in particular soccer. But there's huge learnings to be got from all sports, as far as I'm concerned. But and this one, the Belgian FA, right, and Ajax have they've a huge focus on that in their underage structures now. I had a good video, but I couldn't get it to play on the thing. But I'm going to get one there for you, so I'm going to show it to you in a minute, right? Of a game, a Gaelic football version, right? So basically, the idea is, and you see it, and I remember I used to be a big fan of the Throne team when Mickey Hart got them first, not in the kind of mauling and pulling and dragging and not being allowed to smile that they used to do, but with the way they used to work the ball. In particular, I remember Enda McGinley used to be a focal point. They had this thing going where they'd work it with the hands till it got to McGinley. McGinley would always kick, and when he'd kick, the forwards are all gone. As soon as they saw coming to McGinley, they were all gone making runs, and invariably one of them would get it from him because they had that. But they'd work it out of trouble especially in their own defensive third. They'd work it out of trouble fast through the hands, and you could see small-sided games written all over that. And I saw a thing once, a description, it was a written description of how small-sided games worked in one of their training sessions. Basically, they had the pitch divided into nominal grids. It wasn't cones, and the lads knew where they were supposed to be. And it started off with 2v2, 2v2s all over the pitch. And then it went to 3v3s, and it went to 3v4s, and then it went to 4v4s, and then 4v5s. And they're pulling balls out the whole time. And before they knew it, they had a full-scale match at the end. But they'd all their conditioning work done. And I'm not saying that's the only conditioning they did, but they'd all their conditioning work done, but they had their way of playing set up then. They knew what their principles of play were, okay, from the small-sided games that we're working with the hands here, hands and feet in the middle third, and feet as often as we can in the attacking third. And then it's down to, let's evolve it till we get the ball in the right hands and get it into our gunmen's hands, our shooters' hands, to get them to get scores, you know. So anyway, we're going to say a little quick prayer that this plays. This is a different one now. If you look at the setup here, he's got a yellow player here and a yellow player below, and they're in a box, all right. And each time a yellow player gets a ball, there's a yellow and there's blue here and blue here, right? And each time the yellow player gets the ball, he's allowed to leave the box, and his team gets a score, right? So we're going to watch this. It's only a couple of seconds long, right? When we watch it, the blues never touch the ball, and you can see them visibly tiring. The yellows get more inventive as the thing goes on, because they get more confident because they're in possession more. The coach will probably stop it after 30 seconds and transfer the ball to the blues and let them go at it. But how it's playing. So you see there, we've a range of skills, and they started using more and more skills as they went along. The idea uh, being that they were able to draw men, but you could see the Blues, they started to get worn out because it's very hard to check. And we've seen it in teams that played against Dublin this year in particular, Cavan in particular, in that and Mayo last year, that when you can't get your hands on the ball, that chasing around wears you out, wears you down, and you become physically drained, and of course you become mentally drained as well. And then the openings come. So, and that's just a little thing that's totalcoach.com. There's some good videos on it. It's worth having a look there on YouTube. And they have that you saw that was number 8. It didn't have to have a goals for scoring, but it was getting those coaches what they wanted. If you look at the off the ball running, actually I think we might play it again for the crack. Watch the off the ball running from the yellows. It improved as the game went on. This lad's on the ball now. Watch this lad here. Now he's starting to think, you see, and he got on the ball, but he had someone off his shoulder if he had trouble, yeah? Okay, again, that's only 22 seconds long, that clip, but there's loads of them. And you could use that for football, you could use it for hurling, you could use it for camogie as well. The idea of getting the ball to the right place at the right time and then carrying it on. So here we're going to go into a couple of sample sessions, all right? And I'll talk you through them. Again, I'm limiting myself to half an hour. So if I start telling any stories, someone want to give me a little nudge and tell me to shut up. So this is a sample session for under 12 football, right? And the way that these are put together is that we're imagining that we're in COVID pods, which is what we might possibly be ending up in when we get back, yeah? So the main focus on hand passing and movement in this particular one, right? The session's an hour long. So what do we need? We need footballs, cones, and fibs. So there you have your 12 players, pod of 15, 12 players and 3 coaches. Okay, and you might have 4 or 5 of those pods depending on your numbers, or you might have only one depending on the numbers you have. Doesn't matter. Okay, so there's your pitch layout. 2 small pitches, 10 by 20 meters. Very simple. It's only hand passing we're working on. All right, is that okay? This is your area you have to work in, maybe down in IADT or wherever you're going to be training, right? So yeah, space is not a thing that we have a luxury of, in particular in our club where we have so many teams and so many players, okay? So we have to use our space wisely. So this is all simple stuff, right? So you're going for 10 minutes, the warm-up, 12 players on one pitch, 4 to 6 footballs. We're moving the ball, players are moving around, hand pass the players. So we're starting the key thing to our key focus of our warm-up. If our plan for tonight says we're working on hand passing, our warm-up is going to include hand passing. And that gives us a chance as a coach to shut up and watch them as they're doing their 1 minute's activity to warm up and getting their range of motion going. Have a look. See who's strong with hand passing, who's strong with both hands, who needs work with the other hand, yeah, who can punch past the ball quite a distance, who's limited to a short range pass. Now we know when we can give out our bibs and decide who's going to be playing on what team so we can match our groups. Yeah, so we're not having one team going playing against another team. We're just going wiping the floor with them. There's zero crack in that for anyone. Yeah, but so when I'm moving around, we're hand passing the balls to each other. Anyone without a football, you can put in or take out footballs that suits you. Get the head up and find a free player. All right, and then every minute or so, for me, you're using your GA15, and that's another workshop, but our dynamic stretch every minute, 60 seconds activity, 30 seconds dynamic stretch, and 60 seconds activity. And before you know it, we're ready for matches. And we've gone through the whole lot, okay? If you wanted to, you could introduce your kicking, your pickups, your throw up and catch, all sorts of stuff in our range of motion stuff, okay? But the most important thing is these lads are under 12 now. They're going to start going into growth sports now. And what we don't want is fellas who are growing fast to start pulling up with injuries at that young age. So we're learning, we're not necessarily needing the stretching movements or the stretching motions, but what they are needing is to learn the movement patterns that are required for stretching. So it's a time for us as coaches, that's where a lot of our coaching be done there now, is in that warm-up, we're making sure that the movement patterns are correct, that they're stretching properly. Yeah, that they're so when they actually really need the stretch and they're physiologically needing it, that they're getting it right. Okay, all right. So otherwise, we're storing up problems for ourselves when they start growing. Okay, All right, so very simple. 3v3 in here, 3v3 in here. Each team plays a match against each other. Our focus tonight is on movement off the ball. I like to put in that rule. No one gives or receives the ball standing still. There I am. I was trying to type too fast. I made a spelling mistake. Sorry about that. Okay. Nobody gives or receives the ball standing still. All right. Goalkeepers are not confined to stay in goal. So if the keeper comes out, you've got a 3-on-3 attacking. Okay. But only 2 defenders. Okay. But the reverse of that is the opposition can hit you hard on the breakdown. Okay. Which again, is that important in football? And it's becoming more important in football, hurling and camogie. Absolutely. Each game's only 3.5 minutes. Give a point for a dispossession. Very simple, but there's lots and lots of learning opportunities there. And for us as a coach, there's lots of opportunities for us to catch and do something right. Okay? And that's important. The only negative thing you'd really want to be using here is lads, don't be going outside your playing area. Don't be going outside your playing area. Because again, we're trying to teach defenders to show them the outside. If we let a forward away with going outside the playing area, then that's kind of moots the purpose of that. Okay, that's a really simple game, great for warm-ups with older ones, but if you're finding that you're not getting the hand passes, or if you're finding that it's too difficult or too easy, you can just grow the pitch a little bit and pull out a number. Give this lad here a blue bib. All of a sudden, we've got 4 against 2. These ones are great for again, as I said, for warm-ups, but for getting the ball contacts. We're looking to get 300 to 500 ball contacts in an evening here. We're going to get a huge bunch of them here. There's only 1 ball between 6. We're getting a lot of chances to touch the thing here. All right, okay. So that's a simple little one. Number 2, it's similar to game 1. Grow the pitch to maybe 30 or 40 meters and make them wider, exponentially wider, of course. Now we're allowing kick passes. A little rule I like to throw in is if you get a kick, you got to move it on with the hand. Okay, so that encourages off the shoulder running. Do we need that in football? Of course we do. Little rule might be there might be 3 passes before you score to avoid people just blaming the ball. But sometimes you have to paint the picture that it's at least 3, because sometimes people think they have to shoot because they're on the third person in possession, and that's not the case. You work the thing till the chance comes. Now you don't want people. A good thing to ask kids is ask them what's a chance. What, and I did this with under 11s last year. Were they under 11 or 12? You were under 12. When we came back after the lockdown, the first lockdown, we were talking about high percentage and low percentage scores. Now these guys were 11 and they knew, right? When it was explained to them, we sat down on the grass and talked about it for 30, 40 seconds. What is a high? Now, some kids didn't. Some kids were bewildered. But when you got other kids to say it back to them, to explain it back to you, where you've got the greatest chance of scoring. So if I'm way out on the wing and I'm 30 metres out or halfway down the pitch and I'm 11, no point in shooting from there. The chances of scoring are very, very, very low. But if I walk it back in and give a fella a pass who mightn't have got a pass off me ever in my life, in his life, and jeepers, I get the return off him and put it over the bar. And then there's a chance there for everyone to tell everyone that they got something right. And that's what we're looking for. Catch them what they're doing something right. Yeah. Okay. So all the teams play against each other because everyone has different styles. Again, you could go into a brief 30 seconds of just practice the skill. Just practice the skill. Because you will find that 2 or 3 players might have got more touches than 2 or 3 other players. It's okay. That happens. Even up the touches, then just let's go. Let's just a little bit of hand passing, moving around in your own team. 2 balls between the trees. Keep those balls moving around. No one gives or receives standing still. So we have our ball and we're keeping it. They have their ball and they're keeping. Then we take it away and we go again. Okay. All right. It's very simple, but what you're getting is what you're looking for. You're getting kicks. You're getting hand passes. Yeah, we're getting movement off the ball. You're getting opportunities to attack, opportunities to defend, and most importantly, if you're a kid or you're a grown-up, depends what size of a kid you are, it doesn't really, but everyone wants to score. I was down the field the other day with Oran, and I wanted to put them over the bar. The dog even wanted to put them over the bar. He couldn't, though. He's not good with a hurler. He's good in the air, all right. He's no use for a hurler. Game 3 is an altogether different thing, very complicated, and the picture isn't great, and I'm sorry. that's the main goal. And I use this one with adults all the time, and I've been using it for 2 or 3 years, and it's absolutely deadly, right? There's so many layers in this that it's incredible. Okay, so you're starting with the goal here. You've got your two main goalkeepers, your number one, your number two goalkeeper in the goal here. On each pitch, you've got a 4v4, but you haven't, because the yellows are attacking and there must be one yellow player in the goals. These are just made out of poles, the little poles we have, right? The pitches, right? That's about halfway there. I think that's halfway along the pitch. So that's about 60 meters long, right? 60, 65 meters long, right? So very simple. The yellows are attacking, the reds are defending. So you've got 3 forwards attacking 4 defenders, all right? And if to score in that goal, that big goal there. Now, I usually start this off with 4v4s on, and I'd have goals on each end, you see? And then we drop the goals at the top end, at the end nearest to the real net. And we're playing the same thing, 4v4 here. Now, this is fairly intense, right? You're attacking. Now, with my defenders, I tend to have on this side of the field, on the side where the markers are, I'd have the players who play on that side of the field on that side of the field. And I'd have the players who play in the middle and hit in the middle, and I'd have the players who play on the other side. All right. And these are adult players who've decided pretty much where they play and what positions they play in. So you've 4 defenders against 3 attackers. They score here. If the defenders get the ball, they can work it out. They can get a score. They must land the ball into the X or Y. All right. So getting them to put the ball down the wing, getting the ball to put them on the diagonal. Right. We're keeping it away from the opposition 6. All right, which is the way games are played nowadays. Try and pull the 6 out of position so you can attack that channel, right? Your 2 goalkeepers, meanwhile, are in here, right? Where do we want our puck outs to go nowadays? We want our puck outs to go from the goal. We want them to go short. So we're saying you can hit it to the yellow fella in the goal, or you can hit it to land it in X, or you can hit it to land it in Y. They're defending 3 matches at the same time. So these lads are busy, right? So there's a lot of pressure for them. Okay, the goalkeeper here rotates after every score as well. So if the yellows score a point, this lad has to come out, and whoever scored the point has to get in. All right, so he can take a puck out from the goalkeeper, right, and carry on out and play the game. All right, but whoever's after just scoring has to get up here. So that's forcing the yellows to find extra space, and it's forcing the reds to scramble. All right. I'd usually use that for 8 minutes, then rotate the attacking teams only. Okay. Again, you want attackers comfortable with the side of the field that they're playing on. But you also want defenders comfortable in the zones they are, right? It's a really good game. And whenever we get back, if anyone wants to come up and see it in action, you'd be more than welcome to come up and see us doing that up in Shankill there, right? As I said, it starts off with 4v4 on each of these, and then we drop the goals at this end, and we go to shooting in there. And I found it from the point of view of the goalkeepers in particular. We had a goalkeeper who was he might even be here. Finton was a bit set in his ways, and the previous way they'd been playing was just to mitre the ball all the way down the field. We needed to get him comfortable hitting the ball, to pick him somebody out with the ball, and he was comfortable with it. But he wasn't as comfortable as we wanted him to be. So all of a sudden he got more comfortable just from doing stuff like this in game environments. Now, we wouldn't play this all the time. Every now and again, you play that. It's fairly intense, right? But there's other stuff. You have to put a bit of variety into it, obviously, to make it a bit of crack. But there's a lot of work in that, and there's a lot of layers in it. You can obviously increase the players or reduce the players. You can have fellas here hitting balls in if you want to do it that way in X and Y as well. And in fact, I have done that over the years. You put walking wounded in there. Fellas come up with a blister on their big toe or whatever, and they can't train. You put them in there, give them a job to do. Put them in there, hitting the balls in for lads as well. Feed the ball, catch the goalkeeper's puck out and feed it to this lad. So everything's all action. It doesn't stop for the 8 minutes, and you're keeping going. All right. So that was really quick. I think I might have gone a little bit faster than I wanted to. I'm going to turn on the thing here if you have any questions. But here's a little summary for you, right? Whatever outcomes you want to see on the field, you have to rehearse them in training. Okay? So everything you see happening on a field in a football, hurling or camogie match can be rehearsed. okay? And you can make some sort of a game out of it, okay? Um, if you're not seeing the skills you've been teaching, if you've taught blocking, tackling, hooking, catching, whatever the hell it is, rising the ball, if you're not seeing it, then you need to create a game-based situation to make it happen. It won't happen. It will happen if you do it in a drill-based fashion, but it won't happen enough. It won't happen enough to make it second nature to players when they're under pressure in a game-like environment, right? So that's a kind of a summary. There's a conversation there on the side. Games 1 or 2. What are the rest of the pod doing? Sorry, good man, Barry. We'll have to go back to that there. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Bar. There's 12 in the pod. There's 6 in this pitch, and there's 6 in this pitch. They're playing. Do you see it? Yeah, hold on. We'll have to put. I'm going to turn on your microphones there so you can hear, or so you can talk if you want to, right? As soon as I figure out how to do that, meeting options. Yeah. Now you're allowed to unmute. If you want to say something there, just unmute your mic and say it there, right? Bar,
thanks, thanks, Ken. Yeah,
did you get that?
Bar.
Yeah,
I got it. I thought that was your. I thought you had one pitch for each of your 2 pods.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we did have back over here. Yeah,
per pod. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's two small pitches per pod. Just the idea is that all 12 of them are playing at the same time. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Anybody else got that in there?
Game 3, Ken. What age group is that? Would you introduce that game 3 into?
That John. Now that's well, it's a bit advanced now, but I've used it with under 16 up.
Okay.
But you could do a version of it with under 10s, 11s, 12s. It just you'd have to sort of pull out some of the complications, you know. Pull out the goalkeeper's complications. You could be feeding the balls in, and your other coaches could be feeding the balls into them. And the lad in the goal, we'll go back to it there. See the lad in the goal here. There's a lot riding on him that he restarts the play all the time. But if you've a 4 versus 4 in here, and you've a coach in the goal, all of a sudden, then you've got 4 versus 4. You're more likely to get your score. So you can water any of these down just to suit, you know, your. And I've loads of these. There's actually a very good book. We have a couple of copies in the club. Colm Nally's book has a lot of good games like this, and I developed this off one that I saw Colm do before with just he had one little grid in the front here. He wanted all the attack, all the scoring to happen here, and I said no, we could do better than that, and that's where we got that from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Anybody got anything else there? No. Okay. Well, look at. I think I might have gone a little bit fast with that, but I'm not too worried because I know a lot of people spend a lot of time online. Yeah. Who's that?
Justin. How you doing?
Not bad. Yourself?
Good. Quick question. With the pods and when we go back to no contact.
If we go back to non-contact, but
right, okay.
That's what we're assuming. Yeah.
Okay. Assume we're going back to no contact. It's kind of easier to have some games with football, because it's easier to avoid the contact. With hurling, it's a real challenge to get any sort of small-sided games going with hurling. Any ideas?
Yeah, when we did a little bit of work on this yesterday ourselves at GPOs in a very long in-service webinar. For me, especially in the hurling, if someone gets the ball, you can't tackle them. Simple. So that means that you have to be first to the ball. Your no man's land games are good for that as well. You know, the ones where you have your court games, you know, that sort of game.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking older. I'm thinking.
Oh, you're talking. Yeah, you're
minor or even under 14 court games. They're probably a little bit beyond it. Some of the better lads.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I'd be just going OLAD rules, Justin. If someone gets the ball, that's it. You didn't get the ball. So you take out the hook and take out the block and take out all the tackling. It's hard though. It's hard because the only thing is that they're a little bit, to a certain point at that age, you're a little bit more capable of taking instruction, depending on who's giving the instruction. Yeah. But look at they understand the situation with the contact. So you're saying if you're beat to the ball, that's it. you can't get a tackle in. You're not to get a tackle in, and like there's no benefit to us in that, but it does mean that fella has to win the ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I suppose where it breaks down is, and you'll get it more in hurling, especially if we're on Astro, you'll get the loose ball, right? So you've got 2 or 3 lads hoofing in, and it's inevitable. Contact is inevitable. So I've just found that a real challenge to come up with something that our excellent COVID supervisors are very good at keeping an eye on and stopping us doing, I get it, and rightly so.
But come here, what you could try is resets after each phase of play. So you see you're playing a match on Astro in particular, right? And a score goes in. There's always someone, and we would have played with fellas like this, always someone who's going to run over to the sideline looking for the handy puck out or the handy ball,
Some of us might have waited there.
Well, I know you wouldn't have made, you would have made a run there and had to stop to take a couple of breaths, and I'd have been behind you. But you know what I'm saying? The fella who didn't bother his arse chasing his man is standing there looking for the handy puck out now. But what you could allow is them to reset. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So reset before each puck out, reset before each set play, and actually set plays are a thing you could work on as well. Things like positioning for line balls, in particular with older lads. Everyone thinks this mania for scoring line balls. Not everyone can do that. When was the last time we saw all the players draw into the big square and a line ball go across the field for a fella to run onto in a scoring position? So we could set up little set pieces like that as well, where we're taking the contact out of it, but we're getting something that might happen in a game environment. I do remember saying a drill I used to have where you'd have 2 boys in the middle and 2 on either end, where one lad had to feed the ball into the middle, and the other lad had to let him get it before and then try block him as he hit it on to the next lad, you see. And I tried to explain this to a group of young lads, one young lad, he's a cornerback, a great cornerback, Mikey Power, said to me, "I'm sorry, Ken, it's not my nature to let him have it." So I hope that helps. It's a tough one. It's a tricky one, especially as they're getting older. I see another hand up there. Whose hand is that? Whose hand was that? I'm not great at this technology. Who had their hand up? Just shout if you have a question, because we're going to go in 5 minutes otherwise. You don't want to, I'll stay here in your living room, listen to me and Justin catch up. Right, okay. Well, look, if we've no more questions, you know where I am if you want to ask. And I'm gonna.
Ken,
who's
sorry.
that?
Mick Murray here, Ken. Ken,
Hi, Mick.
you mentioned the website. What was that there again? Because I couldn't. The video didn't work for me.
All right, totalcoaching.com, I think.
Total.
Now, there's Andy Moores in a few of the videos, but interestingly enough, Fitzy isn't in them. But no, Andy has the ball. There you are, totalgacoach.com. See it there on the screen, Mick?
Yeah, thanks.
Again, we're recording this, so you'll be able to get it off the Coola online, the Coola coaching page there on the website. So, and a little bit of advice to people who are bringing their kids and their friends out for allegedly impromptu hurling sessions. Make sure they're not wearing their Coola tops, will you, Mick? Sorry, everybody. I mean, okay. Okay. Anybody else got a question before we go? As good as it is to talk to you, I'm getting cold out here in the mugger, you see. No? Okay. Well, look, thanks for your attention, folks. I hope you got something out of that. I didn't want it to be too long. I think I may have gone a little bit fast, but again, it's recorded there. I have a bunch of these games. These games, you can get them anywhere, right? Sometimes it just takes a little step of bravery to allow yourself to actually go and use them. Remember, if you are using them, that the first night you use them, you're learning them, and so are the kids. Don't expect it to be 100% the first night, especially if you're working with younglings. This first week, they're learning it. The second week, they become competent, and the third week, they become competitive. So give them a chance to learn the thing before you evaluate where you're going with it. Okay? Yeah. Who's that?
Derek Dunn.
Ah, Derek, how are you?
Grand.
Good
Quick
man.
one. The Column Nally book.
Yeah,
Is it the first one or the second one you have?
it's the first one I have. We have a few copies of that.
I have
Oh
that.
no, hold on. Is it the second one or the first one? I can't. It's in the car now. I'll have to go and look at it.
I have the first one. I'm looking for the second one.
All right, okay. Well, why don't you just go mad and email Colin and he'll send it to you?
Well, yeah, no, I just wanted to save the club money first. I think you'll find I got the last 10. Pat Dolphin will back that one up on me.
Okay, I believe you. Well, I hope so because
Yeah.
pack
No,
out
I ordered the last batch, so I just wanted to know if anyone ordered the new batch yet.
Well, we can do. We'll do that.
Oh, I
Good
got
man.
the last.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
No panic. All right.
All right. I think that's we'll call it an evening then, and I'll get in out of the cold here. Thanks for your attention, folks, and I hope you all got something out of that. We'll be back next week, right? And this one is very player orientated. Mark is going to do a workshop on getting yourself a competitive edge by being ready to return to play. And I know the GA are doing something similar, but in this case, Mark is trying to make it a little bit cooler friendly, and we know how difficult it is to motivate, especially teenagers and young adults. So hopefully Mark will be able to give us some good wisdom on that. So at the same time and same bat channel next week, okay? And again, I'll send you all the link. Anyone who was on here tonight will send you the link, even if you don't want it. You don't have to come. All right? Good night and have a good evening. Thanks very much for listening.
Cheers, Ken. Thanks.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.